Hello, 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 roses. Good day to you. It doesn't matter if it's morning, afternoon, or evening. I just want to bring you greetings throughout the world and say hello from the United States in the great state of Michigan, also known as the Mitten State, and you are watching Get Into It. And this podcast, this program is really designed to give cancer survivors, oncologists, radiologists, doctors, caregivers a platform to really share about this ugly thing called cancer. And I'm excited to have you here today. I am your host, Kimberly Willis, and I am your wellness boutique advocate. And you may wonder, what is a wellness boutique advocate? And I'm glad that you asked. It is really an opportunity to provide services and products to the survivor, the caregiver, to deal with this, again, this ugly disease. I do it several different ways. One of the ways that I do it is to provide hope and inspiration through my books. I have my debut book with Walk Through Fire that really just goes through the journey of cancer and but also provides hope and inspiration with that. But I don't stop there. I also provide inspiration through clothing and through styling because I truly believe that what we wear is a reflection of what we feel on the inside. So I want to help you look and feel good. And you could do that by seeing that website down there that says survivorscorner.net, or you could follow me on my different handles so then you could kind of keep up with me and learn different tips and tricks. But I still don't stop there. I also help you smell good, y'all. I help you with different fragrances for both men and women. That's at 49rose.com. But there's so much that I offer, but I don't want to talk too much about me. I really want to get into our guest that is getting ready to come on the stage today. And I'm going to read a little bit of her bio about Miss Winona Thomas. She is a multi talented, certified professional author, coach, and is seen as one of the metropolitan Detroit's rare treasures. Known for her many accomplishments, including the founder of Kara's Publishing LLC and authors of the Rise Media platform and magazine, talk and radio show host, producer, and author of 5 inspirational books, writer of inspirational poetry, articles, prayers, reflection, and thematic plays. It is through the Beautiful You and on the Inside workshops and seminars that Winona is able to truly pour into and impart her faith, her strength, her courage, and inspiration that only a true relationship with God can transform. She is the founder of Kara's Publishing LLC. She is also the CEO and founder of the successful Single Moms Foundation. Listen, there's a lot more to her, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. So I'm going to bring her to the stage. Hello, Winona.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much.
Yes. How are you this day?
I'm pretty good. I'm doing well. I'm very excited to be here with you today. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. So I read a little bit of your bio, but tell us a little bit more about yourself. We'll get into your testimony in a minute, but just
Oh,
tell us, who is Winona?
well, Winona, I'm a creator. I love to write. My writing journey actually began when I was 9 years old. I wrote my first prayer book. So I love to write to just to encourage and inspire other people, particularly other women. I'm also a single mom of a 22-year-old daughter. So,
Wow.
and it was important for me as a single mom to be able to give back to other single moms, to be able to just share my journey, my celebrations, my challenge, and the wisdom that I've gained as a single mother.
Hmm.
And I just like to have fun and hang out with my daughter, do shopping trips or go out to dinner. I'm getting used to the fact of being an empty nester, and she keeps
Yeah.
telling me that she's grown now. So I'm just getting acclimated to just enjoying my alone time right now.
Oh, I love it. Well, first of all, you don't look like you have a 22-year-old, so that is amazing all in itself.
Thank you.
And for those who are watching this broadcast on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, make sure that you like, comment, and share because I know that her testimony is about to be dynamic. And the topic of this show is talking about the importance of sharing your story. And with her being a storyteller and with her being an author, I want her to dive into her testimony. So, Winona, tell us about your journey through cancer.
Well, my journey through cancer began in 2013 when I actually found the lump. There were two lumps. Actually, there was one lump in the beginning that I
Mhm.
found. And so, unfortunately, I allowed fear to set in and I just kind of kept to myself. At the time, I was married. So I did share that with my then husband, but I never moved on it. I was so fearful of the unknown, just of what the doctors may tell me of what was going on in my body. So I kind of just went along my way knowing that this lump was there. It just kept checking it and just questioning like, could this really be? And then as time went on, another lump showed
Oh,
up. I
wow.
found that one too. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with a good friend of mine. She's my prayer partner. And because I hadn't told anybody, the only one who knew was my then husband.
Mhm.
And so I had shared this with her, and she said, okay, you need to go to the doctor. So I got up enough courage. One thing I share with people is to take the fear with you,
Mhm.
because out of that experience, I realized that that spirit of fear where it can actually take you to your grave. And
Yes.
so I got up enough fear, went to the doctor. They immediately did a ultrasound on me, and right then and there, the radiologist said this looks like cancer. And so, um, just oh my God, was just
So you're literally on the table and
yeah,
he says, "I think this is cancer."
yes.
Wow. Okay.
And so they set up another appointment with me to do the biopsy. And I remember they wanted to do it actually right then and there, but I said no because I was trying to take everything in that was happening.
Mhm.
So I just scheduled another appointment to come in. And when I came back for that second appointment, I never forget the nurse said to me, she said, we didn't think you were going to come back. And so, yes, and so
Wow.
I think through everything, through me taking it in, I just made a decision that I wanted to live. You know, because at the time my daughter was 14, she was just starting high school, so I knew that I wanted to live, to see her graduate from high school, college. You know, get married, and I just was not ready to give up on life. And so I never forget the night that I told my daughter about the breast cancer. That was also the same night where I separated from my now ex-husband.
Wow.
So, and then like 2 weeks later after that, we lost our grandmother because she had been struggling with lung cancer. And
Wow.
so after all of that, I was like, okay, Lord, I cannot handle anything else. And, you know, I came to a crucial decision in my life at that point because I knew I had to fight. So
Mhm.
I was already fighting in my marriage.
Mhm.
And then now I will have to fight to beat this breast cancer. So I made a crucial decision that I can only handle one fight. And so I let go of the marriage. I let go of everything because one thing I remember on my first chemo treatment, one of the nurses said to me, she said, cancer feeds off worry and stress. And so when she
Mhm.
said that, I knew that, you know, I had to let everything go. I did not have room to worry or stress about anything. So I did just that because I needed that peace in my body. I needed that peace so that I can fight. I needed that peace because even though I'm going through the cancer. My daughter, she was so nervous about starting high school. So I
Mhm.
knew I had to be there for her. I still had to be a mom for her. And so I just, through it all, I just thank God that he gave me the strength to still be able to get out the bed. There was some down days where I was sick, but I was still at the mall with my daughter on certain days when she wanted to just hang out. And
Mhm.
so, one key factor about this testimony is one thing the Lord shared with me. I remember it was the day after chemo, and I heard the Lord say to me, "You can kiss cancer goodbye because you are healed." And so I took that and I just stood on the word of God. It wasn't that He spoke, and when I went back to the doctor, everything was cleared up, no more chemo needed. But
Mhm.
it was a process. I still had to stand on God's word, stand on the fact that He said that He is the Lord God that heals. I had to believe that and keep going. And so in 2014, when I was getting ready for the surgery, because they were going to do a mastectomy on the right breast,
Mhm.
and I had been praying, even prior to that, I had been praying and saying, I was speaking to the tumors, just saying, commanding them to dissipate and shrink and all of that. And I remember when I went in, as they were preparing me in 2014 for the mastectomy, they did a full PET scan. And
Mm.
my oncologist called me, and she said, that the first tumor, because one was larger than the other one, so they wanted me to go through the chemo first before surgery so they could see if it would shrink.
Mhm.
So the larger tumor actually shrunk all the way down where it was no longer cancer. And then the second tumor had completely dissipated. So I was praising God because it was like what I was speaking, it actually came to pass.
Mhm.
So God heard my prayers. And so, and that also just reminded me of what the Holy Spirit told me that one Friday morning, to kiss cancer goodbye. And so when they went in, they did the mastectomy. My oncologist still said do the mastectomy. So I did. And when after the mastectomy, they tested all of the breast tissue, and they
Mhm.
came back and said we did not find any cancer. Um, they only found a questionable lymph node. And so it was, because it was only one questionable lymph node, they couldn't verify whether or not it was cancer. They just decided, I had a consultation with the radiologist, and he decided that I did not need radiation. So I praise God through
Yes.
that. And so, it was a journey of, not for me, not just healing, a physical healing in my body, but it was a journey of emotional healing, because I was preparing also to get ready for a divorce. It was a journey of spiritual healing. So I just thank God that I was able to still work my job while I was going through chemo. I had a very supportive work team that, they supported me, and my family, they were very supportive. So I thank God that I was able, that He brought me out on the other side, that I can sit here today and say that I am an 8-year breast cancer survivor. And so yeah, I'm very appreciative.
That is amazing. You dropped quite a few nuggets on here that I had to write down, and one of them that you said was about, how you got to take your fear with you, because if not, the fear will take you to the grave.
Yes.
And that is so important to highlight, because some individuals are scared to go and see about themselves.
Yeah.
And time again, I've had several guests on this show, and even just from different testimonies from individuals that said that self detection really saved their life, or really to not only finding it, but then going to see about it. So it's so important
Yes.
when you are finding something is wrong with you, to go see about it. If you have a cough that's a little bit longer than normal, if you have skin rashes that's not normal, anything that's just not normal and it is prolonged, please go see
Yeah.
about it. It is so important for that. But then also, your story really highlights your strength because to not only deal with cancer, it, but then to also have a young lady who's going into high school, and if you have anyone who has teenagers, already knows
Yeah.
that you got to fight with hormones, okay? So
Yeah.
you're dealing with hormones. Your daughter's probably starting to like boys at this
Yeah.
point, and it's just like, okay. But then on top of that, you are dealing with um, this whirlwind of a marriage right now and trying to figure out what that looks like and making tough decisions while dealing with a tough battle. So I commend you through your journey. I know that's not easy, and I know that's not everyone's testimony. Some people have their spouses or partners that's with them. Some people are by themselves and don't have anyone, but then someone also has to go through the transition because when you go through cancer or any life changing event, sometimes that will expose um, everything that's in your marriage, that will
Yeah.
expose everything in your relationships and things like that. So it could speed up the process or it could just reveal how strong it is. So I'm thankful that you were able to overcome such a difficult period of your life while going through active treatment, because chemo is no joke, it's no punk. It
That's,
is a lot to deal with,
yeah.
and then still to be a mom, to still do whatever functions if she's active in school, all of that is so so important. I want to dive into your storytelling because with you being an author as well as a publisher, so first of all, shout out to you. So you're not only an author, but you're also a publisher too. So you
Thank
said, I'm not only going to write a book, I'm going to create the table too. So I love that. Um, please give someone the tools of how to share their story because some people are really shy about sharing their story. They want to be private about their story because they don't want people to view them any kind of way. You are vulnerable when you do share your story. So tell us about the power of sharing your story.
I believe there is great power in sharing your story. And let me just say this, I understand the vulnerability of being able to share your story and the courage that it takes because I have dealt with certain elements of different journeys that I've walked through. I have actually told myself, like, okay, I'm not telling this part of the story
Hmm.
because I just feel like people would view that where I would feel shameful or dealing with guilt. But over time, I learned that, that could be the most powerful point of your story
Wow,
because that is the part that you feel like you need to leave out. That's the part that is going to deliver somebody. That's the
that is
part that's
so
going to
true.
cause somebody to be healed from what because they may be experiencing what you're going through or something similar.
Hmm.
So sharing your story is so important because our story is really, it's not just about us. It's
Hmm.
about being able to be a blessing, being able to be a witness of who God is and what God says He will do according to His word. So it's very important to share our story. And one thing that you have to look at when you do make a decision to share your story, that it's not just about you.
Hmm.
One thing when God takes us through our trials and tribulations, and I tell people, don't abort the process
Hmm.
because when you come out of that thing, what you are coming out of is somebody else's breakthrough,
Absolutely.
somebody else's inspiration and encouragement. Somebody needs to hear your story. So that is if you can keep that in your mind when you think about sharing your story, that it's not just about you. It's not just about your story. God gave you that story for a reason.
Mhm.
That for me, that is inspiration to share my story. So if just one person can be encouraged, and be inspired by what I had to go through, and knowing that God is real, that if He did it for me, He will also do it for you.
Absolutely. I love that. Don't abort the process. You know, it's so important to make sure that you use discernment as well,
Yeah,
and to listen to your gut. For Christians, we call that the Holy Spirit. So, really listening to what you can share with individuals, because some people really have a hard time with digesting what you have to say. I mentioned this yesterday in another group that, I have no problem being transparent about my story. However, I listen for guidance on what to share, because
yeah,
sometimes there's a certain part of my story that needs to be highlighted, because that's what they need in that moment. So I listen to my gut to see what part of my story is important for that. And then again, like you said, if it's something that's a little scary to share, again, listen to that gut to see if that's something to share, because not everybody can hear your testimony,
that's
and
right.
some people want to exploit your testimony and
Yeah,
put it on TMZ and
yeah,
whatever else. So it's very important to use that. But yes, there is power in your voice with um figuring out just sharing your story. It is so powerful. I want you to talk about, how did you come about not only being an author but a publisher as well?
Well, that journey, that was an interesting journey because as I was trying to get my first book published, I ran into this huge barrier with the publishing. It was a self publishing company that I was working with.
Mhm.
And the barrier was communication. It was like, you know, one day we're doing great, we're responding, payment is made, and then the next day, like, I reaching out to the person and no response at all. And this went
Mm.
on for a couple of weeks. It was almost to the point where I wanted to almost look into taking the person to court because I had already paid what needed to be paid at this point.
Mhm.
And so I remember it wasn't until because I would see the person on Facebook, just sending messages back and forth. And it wasn't until I questioned their integrity. I sent them a private message.
Mhm.
I mentioned the word integrity, and it was like for some reason that word clicked with this person, and
Mhm.
I was able to get a response then. But because of that, I was so frustrated. Things that I wanted to see happen with my book during the publishing process, it did not happen. I just wanted to hurry up and get it done so I could be done with this publishing company.
Mhm.
So after the book was released, I decided that because I had already did most of the lead work, I had found someone for the editing, found
Mhm.
someone for the cover design. I got my own ISBN number. I did the copywriting, so pretty much I had did all the lead work. So I just decided to establish Curious Publishing as an outlet for new authors because I was meeting a lot of authors, new authors. They had a manuscript, but they didn't know what were the next steps. So I just decided to position myself with launching Curious Publishing for these new authors to give them direction, be a guide for them, to walk them through the self publishing process because a lot of them wanted to. They were interested in self publishing their books. So just giving them the resources that was able to find for my book, being able to provide that in Kira's publishing, and just helping with manuscript. I meet a lot of authors where they write,
Mhm.
no format, no flow to their manuscript. So I work with these authors just on their manuscript alone, just developing their manuscript, working with them, just going chapter by chapter through their manuscript to build it up, to make sure that they're including their testimony, that they're sharing their story, because a lot of them, they don't, they tell me the testimonies, but the testimony is not in the manuscript. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that that you also share your experience, because as you're writing your book, you have a message that you want to get out to the masses.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
love that.
Eras Publishing came about.
I love that. You mentioned something that I think we need to highlight
Okay.
about the whole self-publishing process. Can you talk about the importance of copywriting your work?
Yes. Yeah. So I've learned that copywriting your work is important, because it's a safety guard for you as the author. Making sure that no one comes along and wants to claim your work,
Mhm.
for yourself.
Yes.
So, you can go out to the Library of Congress, and I believe there is a registration fee, and just copyright, everything that you've written, your entire manuscript, um, and even the book cover design also. You
Hmm.
can copyright that too. So yeah, it's very important. You want to cover yourself as the author, because unfortunately we live in a world where people do crazy things,
Hmm.
steal your work and put their name on it, and you may not even know anything about it till months down the line. So yeah,
Hmm.
you want to cover yourself as an author.
Absolutely. It's so important to do that because you can't say it's yours until you do that.
Yes, yes,
So I know I have strategically have waited to put certain things out because I wanted to make sure things were either patented or copy
yes.
written, just to ensure that no one steals the idea, because that's your baby. You
That's
know, if you want to be able to share your story and to share some merchandise, or even for your business, it is so
yes,
so important to make sure you trademark your business. It's one thing to get your EIN number and set up your entity if you're a sole proprietor or LLC or S corp or whatever, how you set yourself up. But until you trademark that thing, it's
yes,
not yours. Someone could, yes, they may not be able to take the name per se, whatever, but in that particular state.
yes,
But anything that you're doing within that business, someone can take that. And it's
that's
so important to make sure that you protect yourself with doing that, especially your written work.
yes,
Because if you catch anyone who has plagiarized your work or stole any products or service from you, you can get coins from that. So if they made a pretty penny, guess what? You are about to make a pretty penny.
that's
And
right.
that is so, so, so important with that process. How did you know to even do that in your journey of being an author and setting up your publishing company?
Well, before the first book was even published, I decided to connect with a writers group, because I knew, like I said, I wrote my first book at 9, and after that, it was like I just completely stopped writing until about, I would say, somewhere in my early 30s. Actually, when
Mm,
I got saved, is when I started writing again.
okay.
Excuse me, again. So I connected with a writers group, called the Called and Ready Writers. They were in Detroit, and so they had all this, so much resources for authors about the importance of editing, cover designing, copywriting,
Hmm.
the ISBN. So the Called and Ready Writers was really like part of my foundation of teaching me what I needed to learn about, you know, as a publisher, as writing a book. So that's how I gained a lot of the information that I learned, just connecting with a writing group. So that's important, not to just, as an author, not be out here by yourself, but connect with writers groups, because
Hmm.
they have a resource of information that you are able to tap into.
I love that. So for those of you who are wanting to write a book for the first time, or even if you want to set up your own platform with a publishing house, or even if it's a business, one of the things that she said is that she surrounded herself with others who knew the process.
Yes.
That's step one. So if you don't know what to do, Facebook is a great resource. YouTube is a great
Yes.
resource to go into these groups that will help you. There's several author groups that's out there.
Yes.
There's if you're in candles, there's several groups for that. Uh, Even if you really want to be specific about what you want to do, there's a group for that. You can find that. So with that, you can ask questions. You don't have to do it by yourself. You know what the good thing that I like about the Facebook groups as well as YouTube is that you find individuals who do not mind sharing
Yes.
resources and they want to see you succeed. They have no hidden agenda because either they are in the same boat or they want to be able to pass the baton on to somebody else to be able to help them as well. So it's so important to use these that's free resources,
Yes.
guys. We're not talking about stuff that you have to pay for. It's free to do a Facebook group. It's free to find different tutorials on YouTube. Like just do it. Just do
Yes.
it. So nothing will stop you from doing that.
Yes. And you know what? One thing I want to say about the Facebook groups, because one a piece of advice I would tell aspiring authors is to learn your craft. That's
Mhm.
something that I learned after books came out. So being on Facebook, I start looking up author groups, publishing groups, and like you said, it's so much information out there, so many resources that you will find that I had no clue was out there, and so that helped me to learn my craft, to understand the writing process, and
Mhm.
I mean, it was like it's a whole literary world out there that
Yeah.
I knew nothing about. And just from being on Facebook in the different groups, I was able to tap into so much information. And
Mhm.
so that's one thing I would tell authors as you are starting your journey as an author, learn your craft. That is so important because you never
Absolutely.
know what door is out there available for you.
Mhm. Absolutely. I'll add to that to also make sure that you think big.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we are working on a project, we only think of the project. We only are thinking of this one book. We're not opening up the opportunity to write several books or to really capitalize on that one book. Did you know when you write a book that you can have t-shirts made, that you can have mugs made, pens made, you could do a podcast, you can open up a store. There's so many things that you could do with just that one book
Yes.
and really dissect that thing and really be able to transform all of that. And honestly, this podcast is a testament to that. So with Survivor's Corner, I offer styling, I offer products and services and connect you to support groups, but then also you have this platform where I get a chance to talk to other cancer survivors. That's all coming from that, but then it stems to my cancer story, which goes to the book. So all of those things are intermingled with each other. So don't don't limit your projects to just that one thing. Allow your mind to expand to something that you may not even know that you might morph into, because what
Yes.
you say that you may not do, you might end up doing something else, because you start to the pieces will start to connect. It will
Yes.
start to connect. I don't, I know this is probably your testimony too. I didn't see myself as an author at first. I didn't even like to write in college.
Okay.
What about you? Were you always a writer?
I believe I was. It
That's
wasn't
good.
until when I was in college and I had to write all these papers. And then one day I just paid attention to my grades.
Mhm.
I was getting A's on these papers. So I said, and I think I went back to when I was 9 years old and wrote my first book. And so I said to myself, I really can write. And
Mhm.
so that's when, something started just bubbling up in me after all those years to, write something. I didn't know what it was until one day I was just at work and sitting at my desk, and God just gave me a poem.
Mhm.
And then from there, one poem became several poems. So I think at 9 I just wrote, and then as time went on, as I got older, I stopped writing, and it wasn't until years later where God showed me, and then I was able to actually tap into that. So it was something that was always
Mhm.
there, but I had to tap into it.
That's good. So, Roses, you have two perspectives. You got one person who knew since 9, and you got one person who didn't know until after cancer. So, irregardless if you like to write or not, listen, that's what editors are for. So, you don't have to
Yeah.
be perfect with that. So, don't allow that to stop you from putting forth that that's something that's on your heart, that you want to do that. Let's move into the Successful Single Mom Foundation. Tell us a little bit more about that foundation.
That foundation, that's something that's very personal to me. Because like I said earlier, like what we go through is not just for us. And so I remember one day I was sitting in my car. I had just had a women's conference for actually my the book that I have regarding my breast cancer journey.
Mhm.
And I was sitting in the car after the conference, and I was in tears because, just of some of the challenges that I was going through. And so I made a decision right then and there. I said, I cannot be the only mother going through this, the only single mother going through this.
Mhm.
So I made a decision that I'm just going to pray for other mothers.
Mhm.
And I got a phone call right in the midst of while all this is happening, and it was from a lady who wanted to be a vendor at my conference, but she had already missed the conference date. And then
Mm.
she said, "How can I give to your foundation?" And when she said that, I thought to myself, I said, "Lord, I have a foundation."
Mhm.
That's when he gave me the Single Moms Foundation. And I wanted to create a Single Moms Network foundation as a way to give back to other single mothers, give back wisdom, share, my celebrations and my challenges as well. And also, I want this organization to evolve to be able to provide resources for the single moms,
Mhm.
educational resources, empowerment that they can become entrepreneurs as well. And so, one thing that is coming up that I'm really excited about is connecting with the city of Detroit and helping them to combat the infant mortality rate in the city of Detroit. The Black community in particular, and they have a program called Sister Friend where you become a mentor to a pregnant mother in the city of Detroit. And so I'm really excited about that because the Single Moms Network um, can become a part of that to work with other mothers, because the journey really begins way before the baby gets here.
Mhm.
Because I remember one thing, I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter. And one thing I used to do, this was before I knew to even go to church or anything, but every night I would just say a prayer for her. I
Mhm.
was still in my womb. And I believe today that those prayers, I just saw so much fruit from those prayers.
Mm.
And so me being, a mentor and being able to give back to pregnant moms, I think that's just an amazing opportunity. Just for me being able to speak one on one, connect with the moms, but also for the Successful Single Mother Foundation. So this network foundation is something that's getting off the ground. There's so much I want to pour into it.
Mhm.
Grant, I know I need grant monies because I want to be able to provide uh, like grants, scholarships to the single moms. Because one thing I remember I was looking for when I was going through as a young mother was resources, financial resources to help me to just catch up on, paying bills or buying groceries or getting gas or something. So with the Successful Single Mom Network, we will be able to do that. We want to be able to provide that financial resource to
Mhm.
help that mom get on her feet. And just equipped her with what she needs educationally, spiritually, um, as an entrepreneur. You too can become an entrepreneur. So I'm really excited about what is going to be taking place in the Successful Single Mothers Foundation.
I love that. I'm gonna jump the gun a little bit. I know you're gonna share your social media handles a little later, but I'm gonna pop this in right now because I pray that you get the resources needed to be able
Thank
to
you.
help for that. So, guys, if you know somebody who is a grant writer, if you know somebody who wants to support this cause, please follow her on Facebook. You see it's Winona L. Thomas, and then on Instagram is Winona.Thomas. So make sure that you follow both of her social media channels and DM her, find her, and get, if you know somebody who is able to help supply that, that will be so amazing. So I just love that how you're giving back for not only cancer survivors, but then also you're giving back to authors, but then now you're also giving back to pregnant women. While it's like you are just phenomenal, you are able to just do so many different things. And I just speak blessings over everything that you're doing because someone's life is definitely impact. Um, Share with us a little bit about you talked about sharing your testimony. Tell me about some of the testimonies that you received back about sharing your testimony. So you mentioned about being open and vulnerable. So have you received uh, feedback from individuals about how you help them?
Yes. At first, I just want to say, to God be the glory, because he just gives me the strength to just go through these different journeys, and so I can't really take no credit. It's really all
Mhm.
God.
Absolutely.
And so I have, from just like sharing my story with just girlfriends, close co-workers, they'll call me back and say, they were so inspired. I remember it was one co-worker, she used to go through so much in her relationships. So I had shared a little bit about what I went through with the marriage, and
Mhm.
how it ended up coming to an end. And so I shared that with her. And then the next day, she had called me and she said, you know what? She had told her boyfriend, um, she really ended the relationship right there because she was so encouraged by what I said. And
Mhm.
she knew that this was more of a toxic relationship, um, than something that was healthy. So that's one of the
Sure.
things that inspires me, is when I'm able to inspire someone else, and they come back to me and just let me know that a testimony or word you share just helped them to be encouraged, to get over whatever they were going through. And so that right there, I think that's the most important part. The impact that the story that you have, the impact that it has on other people. I remember a girlfriend of mine. She was really going through on her job, and she had been there for years. And I had invited her to a women's conference at my church. And so she actually came to the women's conference. And after that conference, doors just started opening like
Wow.
crazy. She actually got another position, moved out of state. They paid for everything, for the move, the relocation. They paid her way more than what she was making at the job that she was having trouble with. She could not sleep. So after that conference, she was able to sleep, and just, it
Mhm.
was like God just, he really vindicated her. And so I love her testimony behind that. But I thank God that had an ear to hear,
Mhm.
and being able to invite her to this conference, because it just literally changed her life. So we have to be aware, and this is something I had to learn, that when you walk with God, the focus is not about you.
Mhm.
It's about, the people around you, the people that God sends to you, that he wants you to, be a blessing for whatever reason. So in my books, I say that my books that I've written, those are different volumes of my life's journey that I
Mhm.
share with people. And, I never really thought about the fact that in writing those books, like I'm opening myself up.
Mhm.
It was just something that I just felt like I was compelled. This is what I needed to do. This is how God uses me. And so, yeah, sharing, being able to inspire other people, and that's what drives me the most. I believe being able to help and pour back into other people, that's where my drive comes from.
I love it. I absolutely love it. To tie this all in, to fight for your life,
Mhm.
to fight for mothers, to fight for single moms, and to fight for divorcees. Tell us the importance about fighting to be heard, not
Mhm.
only as an author, but then also as a cancer survivor, or even in any of the other facets that we spoke of.
Fighting to be heard. I have three key value statements that I have gained out of this journey. One is make a decision to
Hmm.
live or die. And that means making a decision to keep going forward, to keep moving. Take the fear with you. And the third one is fight. And I think it's so, so important that we learn to fight, and whatever, however that looks like for you, because when things happen, when life happens, some stuff you are not just going to, it's not just going to go away, easy. It's just going to be simple to get through. Some things we got to pick up,
Hmm.
find some strength, some courage. And one thing about the breast cancer is that when the diagnosis came, and I was in tears. I was like, why, Lord? Why me? I read your word. I go to church. I do this. I do that. And I remember it was my mother who reminded me about my faith.
Mm.
And so I had to pick my faith back up, because I knew then that I needed to fight. Um, Fighting for, because I chose life.
Yes.
Because if we don't fight, in my mind, if we don't fight when we need to fight, then we die. And I'm talking about spiritually, like we shut down.
Hmm.
And so that's why it's so important for me to fight, because I don't want to shut down.
Hmm.
I have so much life in me right now. I say at 50, I'm 50, I will be 52 in July. And when I
Yeah.
hit 50, it was like a whole new book was written. Like one book had been closed, another book, this is the opening of a new book, a new chapter, a new life, a new beginning for me. And so, what I want to encourage people is, when you've been through so much adversity, so much, some people been through tragedy,
Hmm.
um, and they feel like they don't have any more fight to give. So one thing I would say that, if you are still here, if you got through breast cancer, and even with this COVID situation, you came through COVID and you still here, you have to rise up and fight.
Yes.
There's still a fight left in you. And so your fight is, you're fighting for your voice. Your fight is your purpose, trying to get to that purpose, that destiny that God has for you. So that fight, and even as a believer, Christians, I don't know how some Christians view Christianity or what it means to be saved.
Hmm.
But one thing about God that I've learned, God does not deal with weak people. You know,
No.
He does not just make all the decisions for you, and it's going to be easy. But even as a believer, we have to fight. We have to fight, just to keep our relationship with God, just to stay connected to Him. Because for me, at the end of the day, like I said, either you're gonna fight or you're gonna shut down. Either
Right.
you're gonna allow yourself to die. And so I have to fight. I had to teach my daughter that, um, to keep going, to keep, despite what comes your way, you got to keep going. You got to keep fighting because you don't want to get stuck. I had lost a thought, and this is what it is. When the diagnosis of breast cancer came, and of course, you are down, like something just hit you and it knocks you down. And
Mm-hmm.
it's okay if you want to stay down. You may need to stay down a couple of days. Your tears are flowing, whatever you need to do. But what's important is you get back up. Don't stay in that place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could not stay in that place of, why God, why is this happening to me? I had to get back up because I knew I had to fight. And I
Yeah.
believe when we allow ourselves to stay down, in our suffering or in the adversity, I believe just it opens other doors that you may not necessarily want to go through, or it may be some people may not even come out of. So
Yes.
why our fight is so, so important.
I love it. You definitely have to fight for your life.
Yes.
I wanted to go back to your point too about taking fear with you. For those who had just joined in and don't understand what she means by that, she's not telling you to be fearful and take that fear with you, meaning to stay fearful. She's meaning to not to um, stay in that moment. She
Yes.
wants you to be able to move forward and to be able to confront fear and to be
Yes.
able to get the restoration and healing that you need.
Yes.
So we are nearing the end of our show, and it's been a joy having you here.
I have.
I've learned a lot today, and you have been so inspirational. I know someone is going to be inspired by your story. Again, Roses, make sure that you like, comment, and share in this if you know somebody who's able to help pour into you know getting help for pregnant women, or if you yourself are an author and you don't have to have a cancer story, like she's able to help you with whatever. She said she's been writing since 9, y'all, so she is able to help you. Okay, I can't do that, so she'll be able to do that for you.
Yes.
So tell them what is next.
Well, what is next? I wanted to share my book here. This is my book, A Place of Peace, Meditations of a Breast Cancer Survivor. So this is the book that I wrote for my journey of coming out of the breast cancer. So you can pick up the book on my website at winonathomas.com. And I also have an upcoming anthology. I'm a co-author called, it's called Joy Comes in the Morning. And it's
Awesome.
about, I share my story. It's called Refine for Resilience. And
Mm,
so I share my story of just how to overcome the adversity, how to become a survivor, how to become an overcomer, just with the word of God, just having a relationship with God, and basically just learning how to survive and thrive in our faith. And so that book will be released sometime between May and June of this year.
mhm.
And you will be able to pre-order actually a copy of the book at winonathomas.com. And
I
so
love it.
um, there's so much. I also teach inner healing seminars. All of that information is on winonathomas.com.
Wonderful. Awesome. Tell them about your social media handles.
So you can find me on Instagram at winona.thomas, and my Facebook page is Winona L. Thomas.
Wonderful, wonderful. It has been a great power hour for you guys coming on your lunch break to be able to share with us. And listen, I want to show her thing again. So show the book one more time.
A Place of Peace.
Wonderful.
Uh,
So listen, this is one of several books that she has. So head on down to winonathomas.com. You'll be able to see that or even follow her in her social media handles. But listen, it has been a joy having you here. Make sure you hang out at the end of the show so we can chat. But I have really enjoyed having you here. and it's been amazing. Any last things that you want to say to our roses?
Yes, one last thing I would just say is don't give up. Don't give up no matter what it looked like. Don't quit. Don't go back. Don't throw in the towel, but keep moving. Keep God first. If you don't have a relationship with God, that's so important because that's been my driving factor is my relationship with God. Without him, I couldn't do anything that I've been able to do. I don't even know how I would have been able to get through the breast cancer. So, no matter what you are going through, keep God first and don't give up. Keep moving.
Right. Absolutely. I love it. Don't give up. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, it has been a joy to have her on this show today. Um, it's definitely you need to have some type of uh, higher power in your life. So for us and in this show, I definitely promote Christianity, but whatever faith that you have, use that to allow you to fight, to keep going, and to keep going forward. I know in our Christianity, in our faith, that we use Christ, his strength will help us in our own weakness. So if you say, I'm too weak to go through these different things, use Christ's strength and he'll be able to strengthen you in that. So I want to just remind you a little bit more about me as well. So don't forget to follow me on survivorscorner.net, or you can follow me on Instagram at survivors_corner, or you could also find me on Facebook, Survivors Corner, or on YouTube at Survivors Corner. Did you get it yet? Survivors Corner. So, but also this podcast and what I do will not be possible without you. And some of the ways that I do that is through getting donations through that. So with the inspirational wear that I have, every time that you buy a shirt, one gets automatically donated to
Mm.
oncology or to a gift shop at the hospital to be able to, again, provide that information onto them. So you can scan it there, or you can DM me in with these different channels to be able to learn a little bit more. Or if you just want to donate, you could be able to do that there. But Winona, again, I can't say it too many times. I'm so excited to have you join us today. And guess what? Next week, we have something special. We have Caleb that's going to be here. Yes, I got a guy here. Okay. I know I've been having all these females for these last several weeks, but we're going to have a guy who's going to talk about testicular cancer because this month is actually about testicular cancer. So, we are going to go ahead and end the show. So, again, like, comment, and share it. And then until next time, we'll see you next week.
Bye bye.